So, for those of you that watched, remember in my last video when I said that there were people better than me at critical analysis? Well, that was a lie. I'm the greatest. So, this is my attempt at making a somewhat in-depth analysis on games that aren't really suitable for a fun factor. So that's why I'm doing this video on the Metro series. I'll probably review the new game when it comes out, or maybe I won't, I don't know. Metro 2033 is a dark, gritty, first-person shooter that takes place in post-nuclear apocalypse Russia. After the nukes dropped, the only people that survived the nukes were the people that were in the Metro at the time, hence the title, Metro. The game takes inspiration from the book series of the same name, as well as the Stalker series, and the average commute to work in Russia. It's horror themed, and does an amazing job of drilling this oppressive atmosphere into the player. Most of the monsters have some interesting, but not necessarily mind-blowing designs. What's interesting about the monsters is that most of them are just corrupted versions of animals from our world, which only adds to the immersion of Metro. For example, the librarians are based off of mutated versions of gorillas, the Nozalis are based off of warped versions of moles, and Putin is based off of a distorted version of an actual politician. Uh-oh. I just heard a noise, I'll be right back. Ahem. Putin, the glorious leader of Russia, is a credit to his people and has never been involved in any sort of political assassination of his rivals. This is an unbiased, impartial statement made by me, Yeeticus 7. Please, can I have my family back? Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, was talking about the world of Metro. I've tried to come up with the right word to describe Metro. One word that gets tossed around a lot is eerie. Definitely parts of it, but not the whole. Oppressive? Again, maybe the combat and the scavenging, but not all of it. So what word could it be? Well, I think Metro's world is believable. The atmosphere and horror come from the level of effort put into making the Metro seem like a place that people live in. The Dark Ones are the most unbelievable things in the Metro world, and even they're justified. The Dark Ones are sapiens that evolved to be accustomed to the new radiation-covered world. People that watched my Bioshock review know that I love little in-world justifications for the more outlandish elements of a game. Metro's world is trying to give you a slice of people's lives, which, in isolation, I do love. Some of the slices are hilarious too. Some intentionally, but some unintentionally. Most of the slices are usually quite interesting and provide heavy world building. But most of the point of Metro is that it is just a slice. You've been dropped into a world where these people are just doing their own thing. And even though you're the chosen one, because you're resistant to the Dark One's psychic power, no one else knows this. But my worry with Metro Exodus is that with too many slices of the world, you'll start to get the whole picture. And that's never been the point of the Metro series. Even the largest part of a machine is nothing compared to the machine itself. But that's kinda off topic. So back to Metro 2033. The world is amazing, but a world can only carry my interest for so long. So how's the gameplay? Pretty solid. Before diving into it though, I want to talk about Metro's difficulty. Oh, also, I love Ranger mode. In my experience, there are two types of people who play the Metro series. The ones who use Ranger mode, and the ones who are wrong. I played on Ranger Hardcore, which was brutally difficult. If it's not your thing, there is an easier Ranger mode, but being the masochist that I am, I didn't pick it. Even though it was just DLC in the original games, I firmly believe that this is how Metro 2033 should be experienced. For anyone that doesn't know, Ranger mode completely disables the HUD. There's some quite annoying downsides, but I figured out how to deal with them. They definitely took me a while to figure out and negatively impacted my experience, so I want you all to have a better time than I did. Here's my brief, spoiler-free guide to Ranger Mode. If you've already played the games and know what's up, then go to here. Okay, if you've accidentally loaded military-grade bullets, which serves as this game's version of money, which is, why you might not want to be firing them at enemies, into your gun, you can tell by when you shoot the bullets, military-grade bullets make the enemies catch on fire. This is only if combat has already started, however. A more reliable way to tell without wasting the military-grade bullets is that if you check how the bullets look, military-grade ammo is a red-tipped bullet, while regular ammo is a black-tipped bullet. And sometimes, when you enter a cutscene, you'll have a QuickTime event. Due to your complete lack of HUD, it's impossible to tell when you are in this QuickTime event. So, whenever you're in a cutscene or have almost no control, just spam E, or whatever you have your interact key bound to. Also, if you hold M and left click, you can see what grenades you have equipped and how much ammunition you have, for all your weapons. Alternatively, if you want to figure out which grenade you have equipped, you can listen. Each grenade makes a different sound when selected, so you can tell the difference by that. But other than these minor complaints, Ranger Mode adds so much immersion that I have to recommend this mode. Ranger Mode is the true Metro experience. You have to gauge what's going on, how much ammunition you have left in your gun, how much health you have, and when you need to reload, all based on feel and the fantastic subtle visual clues that Metro gives you. If you want to know how much ammo you have, you just have to look at your gun's magazine. If you want to know if an area is poisonous, then you have to listen to your character's breathing. Metro strikes the perfect balance of immersion and only compromises the immersive experience to improve the gameplay. It's amazing. Alright, I want to mess with the people who just skip to the timestamp. That'll teach them for not boosting my watch time. How was I supposed to know the Dark One's genitalia and face swapped? Welcome back, everyone. So, the story of Metro. It's pretty basic. Dark Ones attack your station. You have to go to Polis to save your station. The thing I love about this story is that it isn't really about you. You're just passing through these other people's lives. And each of these people would be interesting enough to have their own game. Bourbon, Khan, Ullman. You get embroiled in power struggles that are beyond your comprehension. Metro makes no effort to make you feel like the hero of legend. I do wish that Artyom, your protagonist, spoke during the game. I mean, he speaks during loading screens, so why can't he talk in game? It's the worst of both worlds. If you're gonna have a silent, self-insert protagonist, then make him silent. If you're gonna have a speaking character, he should go through some sort of arc, instead of just foreshadowing what happens through the level. This isn't really something that I feel is a net positive or a net negative. It's just an odd choice from the developers. Another aspect of Metro that everyone seems to love is the scavenging aspect. But I didn't really experience the same scarcity of resources. To be honest, maybe it's because I explore every nook and cranny of the world that I rarely ran out of ammo. And when I did, it was only ever for one weapon. I could always just swap. But maybe that's the point. If I had explored every nook and cranny of Metro 2033 and still had found myself running low on ammo, then I would have been pissed. And this sentence would be much more derogatory. And you can't run and gun. You have to be very careful about your shots. I can't count the amount of times I panicked and died when I could have just calmed down and gotten out alive. Some people may not like the slower, more methodical combat this lack of resources forces you into, but I do, and it's my channel, so sorry. And it's because the game is so slow that when you do pull off some like John Wick, Terminator BS, it's so much more satisfying. If all you're doing is high-octane action, then that starts to lose its impact. The importance of downtime to heighten the tension is what Metro understands. The shooting's great. The weapons are extremely satisfying. I mean, just listen to that ASMR bullet clink. And the sound of an AK-47 bullet clanging off a helmet is magical. My favorite weapons have always been shotguns, and the shotguns in this game are amazing. The Duplay, don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's the double-barreled shotgun, absolutely annihilates enemies. And the Shambler, I love it. Practically semi-automatic shotgun extermination. Do I even have to show you the weapon for you to believe me that it's awesome? I will just for fun. I didn't use the automatic shotgun because I didn't like it from Metro Last Light. That is my critical analysis of that. So the weapons are good. A worry I usually have is levels. More specifically, how varied they are. The combat can be as amazing as something like Devil May Cry, but if you don't care about what's happening, you probably won't enjoy it. And with the game being called Metro, and people living in the Metro, and the game taking place in the Metro, forgive me if I had some worries about a certain setting, the Metro, being overused, but the game is short enough that even if it only took place in the Metro, I would have been fine with it. The game also occasionally goes on to a really interesting sequence on the surface, which has been ruined by nuclear bombs. You get to explore the hollow skeleton of a city that was Moscow. It's haunting and atmospheric. Here, I would usually transition into briefly mentioning the soundtrack. I mean, it's good. It is a generically competent soundtrack that works effectively within the game. It's not really the kind of thing that I'd listen to outside of the game, though. I'm into very peppy and happy sounding songs, and this is most certainly not that. If you're into crippling existentialism, however, then go right ahead and download the soundtrack. Or go to Eastern Europe. This is why Metro isn't really appropriate for the fun factor. It's a great game, but it's not really fun. It's satisfying and feels good to play, but fun is the wrong word for it. Enjoyable is more appropriate. If you're just looking for something to casually play to unwind, then go back to Skort Wife. I know that joke wasn't funny, but one, neither is anytime someone does the default dance. And two, I just wanted to point out that I love how everyone immediately knows what I'm talking about, despite the fact that what I said was completely inarticulate. Again, completely off topic, or is it foreshadowing for another project I'm working on? I'll let you decide. And the horror. There's only one level that takes advantage of this to its fullest, but one level is all you need to traumatize me. It's the library level. If you want to go into the game completely blind, then skip to here, or just take this too long didn't watch, click off the video, and play the dang game. Metro 2033 is a diamond in the rough. But a diamond is a diamond. So, to accomplish horror, most games feel the need to just find some trivial excuse to strip away your weapons and jump scare you. But not Metro. I wish that was all Metro did. Metro understands that for good horror, you don't need to be completely powerless. You just need to feel powerless compared to something. And in that sense, you will feel powerless. Compared to the librarians. The gorilla type things I mentioned earlier. That description doesn't do them justice. They will haunt my dreams. Let me show you their intro. This establishes one thing. You stand no chance fighting against them. Your only hope is to run as far and as fast as you can. You can't technically kill the librarians, but it takes so much time, ammo, and is so risky, and there are so many of them in the library, that it's just not worth it. In the early part of the level, the best way to deal with these things is just stare them down. If you do, they don't approach nearly as quickly. But sometimes there's more than one of these things. So what do? It's a frantic balance between keeping an eye on the librarians, making sure they don't murder you, and actually progressing through the level. Which, to look for the exit, you have to look for it. Which means taking your eyes off the librarians. So you see the problem. It's a simple premise. Doesn't sound that scary. And Resident Evil 1 is about a bunch of stormtroopers browsing budget real estate. The execution is what makes it scary. While the librarians are utterly inspired, not every enemy type is executed as well as they are. Alright, so I want to prank all the people that skip to the timestamp. They'll show them for not boosting my watch time. How was I supposed to know that the albino librarian was your long-lost father and that sparing him leads to Metro's true ending? Well, that serious flaw leads me to the problems of Metro 2033, of which it has some fairly serious ones. The primary one being the gosh dang vehicle sections, whose idea was it to take me out of the excellent, tense, amazing combat to put me in a vehicle that handles like an earthquake handles buildings? Like, why can I not just move the MG with my mouse? Why does it have to be AD and the up and down arrows? Oh, it's to break up the shooty gameplay. It's a 7-hour game. If it was like 20 hours, then I'd understand it. The section is bad, but it's mercifully brief, so it didn't impact my enjoyment too much. The AI is also hilariously terrible, and stealth exploits the AI's terribleness to the fullest possible extent. This feature of the game isn't too noticeable or intrusive, unless you have eyes. The AI massively decreased the immersion, the difficulty, the satisfaction of the shootouts, knowing that these absolute Einsteins were my opponents. And the demons. They are so annoying. Whenever I got killed by one, it just bugged me more than anything. And the few times the game winks at you and says, alright, you don't have to fight these guys, okay? We really mean it. You don't have to kill these guys. I just ended up wasting all my ammo trying to hit an erratically moving target. And when the demons do manage to hit you, they don't just hit you. They make you sit through an entire 8-second long cutscene. And they can just repeat that attack over and over and over again. And while every other level was friggin' awesome, Metro 2033 does suffer from terrible final level syndrome. When the game finally gives you a full squad of soldiers and some decent AI help, it is hilariously easy to just run around a pillar, wait for your squad to kill them, and conserve your ammo. And the amoebas. I mean, they're just boring. I literally cannot think of anything more to say about them. They're a blob that deals damage, so you shoot it. While the other enemies ain't exactly painkillers levels of amazing and distinct, they got the job done. And the crane boss. It's more of just totally boring things. I'll let the whole boss fight play, just to show you all what I mean. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't subject y'all to that much boredom. But again, the saving grace of this game is that all the bad parts are mercifully quick, so they're not that terrible. And those flaws aren't enough to take away the good that Metro 2033 has. It is undeniably worth your time. Metro 2033 is a solid core with a few chunks of bad stuff stuck to it. But get past the bad stuff, and you'll find a completely immersive, amazing, even hauntingly beautiful depiction of what happens when Russia runs out of vodka.